Well, WTHR.com columnist Bob Kravitz broke the national story early Monday morning, just after the AFC Championship game. He's getting by in just a few hours of sleep lately, and he joins us this morning to talk about what all of this could mean. Bob, thanks a lot for joining us.
My pleasure.
How likely is it that the Patriots, if found guilty of this in one way or another, would face any penalties?
Oh, they're going to face penalties for underinflation of footballs, tampering with footballs. At the very least, it's a $25,000 fine. But because Bill Belichick is a repeat offender, remember Spygate, I think they're looking at a fine. They're looking at a loss of draft picks. And if I was running the NFL, I would suspend him for the Super Bowl.
You would actually go for that?
Yes, I would. Two things. One, if Robert Kraft, the owner, has any integrity, he'll fire him, which won't happen. But secondly, I think the league needs to come down hard. This is an integrity of the game issue, and they need to suspend him for the Super Bowl.
Kruger, what's going on?
What is up? Pretty good year, right?
Yeah, great year. 2015. Can't believe it's over.
It's crazy.
Before we even get into that, it's holiday season.
Yep.
Favorite Christmas movie of all time?
Christmas Vacation.
Really?
Yeah.
Can't. Okay. Chevy Chase.
Yep.
I've seen bits and actually that movie's really funny.
Yeah, you got to watch it.
That movie's
Yeah.
really funny. Okay. Have you ever seen It's a Wonderful Life?
Yes, my dad watches it every Christmas.
Really?
Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah.
That's probably top of my list.
It's God, it was filmed when?
I want to say 1946.
I was going to say yeah.
And I just
all black and white.
It was and he's, oh my goodness, the main actor. This is gonna drive me nuts.
I don't.
Oh, I just looked him up. It's gonna pop into my head. I'm so embarrassed that I don't know his name. We should start this podcast over. Anyways,
I like big Christmas movie fan.
Yeah.
Love all the Santa Clauses.
What's the Christmas Story?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Lee's never seen Christmas Story or It's a Wonderful Life.
I was telling someone though, The Elf
With Will Ferrell?
Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
I think it's really funny, but I don't put it at the top of my Christmas list just because I feel like it's too new.
Okay.
You know, like the Santa Claus started, like the first one was in like 94. Obviously, It's a Wonderful Life, been around forever. I think Christmas Vacation was early 90s. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like it's too new to be like a classic.
I agree. I think Elf is also on in like July now.
Yeah,
on Comedy Central or something.
And I feel like ABC Family tries to push it as a classic, and I'm like, it's just too new. It's not there yet.
Jimmy frickin' Stewart. That's It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah, that movie was on. So I was off the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And that Saturday, to end the week, it was on.
Yeah.
And Lee went out with Luke and her sister, and I stayed home and I watched It's a Wonderful Life, and it's just a good movie.
Yeah.
It's just a good freaking movie. But anyways, sports year in review. A lot happened locally, a lot happened nationally. I feel like we'd be hard-pressed to start anywhere else but the Patriots.
Yep.
Super Bowl 49.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Seahawks in Arizona.
Yep. Glendale,
Arizona, maybe the greatest defensive play
in the history of
the Super Bowl. I'll go
Probably,
ahead and
yeah.
say it. I don't care. I'll
Yeah.
say that. Malcolm Butler, who, if you asked me who Malcolm Butler was before the game, I would have said I have no idea.
I bet you. I remember. To this day, you texted me after the game and said, "I'll be honest. I'll be the first to admit I've never heard of Malcolm Butler before."
He steps in. Was it second down, third down?
Believe it was second down because they figured they would
Yeah.
run on third and fourth down.
Everybody in the building, you get that feeling that the Pats are Brady. Brady drives him down. We're working backwards a little bit, but Brady drives him down the field, gets the go-ahead score. A little bit too much time left on the clock. Another long completion by the opposing team in a Super Bowl. Not a miracle catch, but a very good catch. Actually, it was kind of a miracle catch. Didn't the ball bounce up?
Yeah, he tipped it and bounced off his
chest. It was
chest.
a miracle catch.
Yeah.
And Malcolm Butler, I believe, was the
one that tipped it. He tackled him to keep him out of the end.
To keep him out of the end zone. So at that point, you're like, do you let him score?
Yep.
Do you
use the timeout? Do you not?
For whatever reason, Pete Carroll,
Yep.
God bless him, or whoever made the call, decided to throw it on second down instead of giving it to Marshawn Lynch, who was probably, at the time, the strongest, most effective running back in the game.
Had a good game, too.
Had a very good game. And, which, by the way, they handed off to him on first down.
Yep.
And I don't remember who made the play.
Dante Hightower.
Was it Hightower? Yeah. Great tackle, kept him out of the end
zone. With one
zone.
shoulder, because remember he
did have bad shoulder.
Torn rotator cuff.
Second down, Russell Wilson drops back. I don't even know what the technical term is, a slant route.
I would think.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Don't even know who he was throwing to. Don't care.
Yep.
And Malcolm frickin' Butler steps in, and I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. But it happened.
Yep.
And I don't know where you watched the game.
I was with my wife. Yeah.
Were you?
Yep.
Okay, so you see the play happen, and you're like, did that just happen?
Yep.
And then you're like, are there any flags?
Yes.
Because you're waiting for a flag to come out.
He hit him.
Yeah.
Like at the same, I'm like, all right, there's gonna be that. They're not gonna call pass interference, are they? Yeah.
Call pass interference. And Malcolm Butler didn't tip it, didn't deflect it. He caught it and he freaking intercepted it.
Yeah.
No flags. Pats take over at like their own 1 yard line.
Yep.
So even nailing safe, like it just was down to the wire. You were just like, is this real? Is this happening? And the Pats, 6 Super Bowl appearance, 4th win since 2001.
Yep.
Remarkable that they can go that long of a period between the first and most recent Super Bowl wins. And you got Brady up there with Montana now.
Yep.
At 4 wins? Bradshaw,
Yep.
I believe, has 4.
Yep.
A lot of records set. Brady Belichick wins in postseason. Even to backtrack further, and let's rewind just back to the preseason, okay, before it all started.
Mm-hmm.
They signed Darrelle Revis.
Correct.
Okay, so they've got that stud corner, difference maker on defense.
Corner, yeah.
Okay, all right, feeling good about the team. Season starts off a little iffy, right?
Yep.
Don't they go 2-2?
Yeah, they go to Miami, lose.
Yeah, they go to Miami and
Give up
lose.
a ton of points.
Gave up a ton of points. I forgot I printed all this out. Oh, man, I did some research. So you have opening night lose to the Dolphins by 13, 33-20. Come back the following week, beat the Vikings 30-7.
Now, if I remember correctly, they scored like 1 offensive touchdown that game. There was like a punt return, a blocked field goal for so it was just, even though they had a big score, Matt Castle threw like 5 interceptions. It was one of those where it was like, all right, this might be more about the Vikings being terrible than.
Yeah. Both those games were on the road. They then go home to play the Raiders. They win 16-9.
Yep.
So the 4th game of the season, a loss, big loss, happened to be on September 29th, Monday night game.
Yep.
Chiefs 41, Patriots 14.
Yep.
Trent Dilfer, genius over at the 4-Letter Network. What an asswat.
What an idiot.
What an asswat. Yeah. An idiot. They're not good anymore.
Yeah.
The Pats just are not good anymore. After that Chiefs blowout, they're 2-2. They go on to win 7 straight, and they average 40 points a game.
Whew.
So that was kind of the, all right, fellas.
Yeah.
Like, remember that game they were thinking about benching, or did he took Brady out?
He took them out because they were down big.
But everyone was like,
Yeah.
oh, he was benching him.
Yeah.
And I think Belichick was asked is there a
Yeah, he
quarterback
yeah.
controvery.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he laughed
Yeah,
at the question. But at that point, the Pats are 2-2, and you go, zero thoughts about Super Bowl.
Yep.
right? Like if you told me,
You
they
remember
would've
at
won
the
Super
time too, Peyton Manning was still Peyton Manning, and Andrew Luck was off to a hot start, and you're like, God, you might be if the 4 or 5 seed in the AFC.
I feel like Manning threw for like 7
The
touchdowns.
Broncos or the Bengals were the Bengals, like they always are in
The regular
September.
season Bengals. So the Pats go on; they win 7 straight, all the way up until the 30th of November, their birthday.
Yep.
They lose to the Packers in Green Bay, and then they go on and win the rest of the schedule, and except for the last game against the Bills.
I don't think anyone played that game.
Yeah,
yet.
nobody played.
Yeah.
They scored 9 points, and but you've got Patriots 42, Colts 20, Pats 34, Lions 9. You've got 41-13 over the Dolphins. So there were some big blowouts in there.
Yep.
They beat the Broncos 43-21 during that 7-game win streak. Patriots 51, Bears 23. Chicago sucks. All right, so then you had the first playoff game against the divisional playoff round against the Ravens.
Yep.
Right? But correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Pats are down by 2 touchdowns twice in that game.
Yeah, they got down 14-0, and it was quick.
Yeah.
And then they got
crap.
it back to 14-14. Then they got down 28-14. And it's just one of those games because I remember watching it, and the Ravens, honestly, they don't really fear coming into Foxborough.
Yeah.
Like a lot of teams come into Foxborough and tinkle down their pants, and that's that's just the and they didn't fear. And I remember sitting there watching, and I said, it's the same old defense.
Yeah.
They're not bad, but they just can't get off the field on third down. You know what I'm saying? Like they did it. They'll do it. I remember when they played the Broncos a couple years ago in the AFC Championship game. They only gave up like 23 points. This is that when the Broncos went to the Super Bowl. But they just can never get off the field on third down. So it's not like they're giving up a ton of points. So I remember sitting there saying, this is the same old defense. We did all this, and it's the same issues that they've had the last, call it 6 years.
There were questions about, Revis.
Yep.
The players get paid in the playoffs. They don't. So
Yeah.
how hard is he going to try, knowing he could be a free agent?
Yep.
They come back. Amazing game.
Yep.
Again, down to the wire.
Mm-hmm.
Next game, conference championship. Pats just take it to the Colts.
Yep.
What
is it, 45-7?
45-7 to earn another trip to the Super Bowl, and they end up beating the Seahawks 28-24. But not much drama in the Colts game, except for that's where the whole Deflategate thing started. But what a remarkable year! What a pleasure to watch. I don't care how many championships these New England teams win. It doesn't get old.
Nope.
And what's amazing is each and every time it happens, there's a new wrinkle.
Yep.
Whether it's a Malcolm Butler interception. The other thing that just made this victory so sweet was the Deflategate issue, right?
Yep.
Everybody was it felt like it was us, and I say us, Pats and Pats fans against the world.
Absolutely.
And you wanted to win so bad just to shut everybody up.
Yep.
And they did.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we're older, our priorities have changed, but you still just inside of you just feel a little better when stuff like that happens. And it was a blast. Defending Super Bowl champs.
I think one of the interesting parts about the whole year is Belichick saying he thought the turning point was at halftime of the Chiefs game.
Yes,
I heard him say that. Everyone naturally thought it was the Bengals game because they came out and kind of laid it to the Bengals, and at the time the Bengals were undefeated, one of the best teams in the NFL, and they did their regular night game.
Bengals?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
And they Bengals did their regular rollover during a night game. But he insists. He goes. He insisted.
That's right. I'll just cut you off. There was some hype into that game because I think the Bengals hadn't lost yet.
They were undefeated going in, and it was
like, oh, the Pats are screwed. I think it was in Cincinnati.
It was in Foxborough.
Oh, it was in Foxborough. It wasn't
and it was
Foxborough.
one of those where you almost felt like it was a must-win 5 games in.
Yes.
Which
sorry
is
to cut you
weird.
off, yeah.
And
but halftime of the Chiefs game.
yeah,
is when-
and I just thought it was interesting because he said, he goes, look, we knew we weren't going to win that game, but we needed to see some fight. Some guys that cared. And he goes, I truly believe after that game, I believe his quote was, I actually felt a lot better after that game than I thought I would, because he at least saw everyone at least showing, hey, we give a crap,
Yeah.
you know. And he said if he always believed that if as long as they cared, they would find ways to make it work, you know. And obviously they got hot. You know, I think the Malcolm Butler, the one thing that's bothered me about is there was so much talk about Pete Carroll, you know, the play call. Right, it probably was a dumb play call, but
It was.
I mean that's an all-pro, all-world play by Malcolm
Preparation.
Butler. Preparation, being a rookie, just being a rookie making a play.
Yeah.
Think about how many guys would be worried about a pass interference or worried about just, hey, maybe I'll just keep him out of the end zone or knock the pass down. I mean, reality is he doesn't catch that. It's an incompletion. They're probably still going to score. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, you don't know, but it's just, I think that's the one thing that always drove me nuts in the time after is they never, you gave them credit, but it was a bad play call, but it was such a good heads up, just big boy play.
I think
you know,
Brandon Browner had a lot to do with that play too.
I was watching something and they talked about how, well, one, Browner played with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
But if you watch the play when they set up, he looks back at Butler and says, "Hey, I'm going to jam him. You come up this way."
Yeah.
And
Communication.
and I think they had at least kind of, and I think that was their way of saying, "All right, we might get beat, but we're not going to get beat this way."
Yeah.
And they decided to go that way, and they didn't get beat that way. You know. But I think that speaks to I think it speaks to preparation. They were saying that the Seahawks did not run that play once this year.
Oh, really?
Last year.
Yeah.
You know, did they know that play was in the book? No, but they had an idea that this is some things that they might do. And I watched something on it, and they actually had video on practice of Butler just getting destroyed in this play in practice because he would try and come up and around, or they put like Hightower out there and he wasn't quick enough. And then you see it not work 17 times in practice. And then they finally run something like that in the game, and they win the Super Bowl on it. It's crazy.
You are on the 1-yard line, and you have number 24, and you drop back pass. Are you kidding me?
With the good comes the bad.
Yep.
All right, so great Super Bowl victory for the Pats, but lots of controversy, okay?
What?
Little air pressure. Deflategate is what they ended up calling it. And it turned out to be almost laughable at first.
Yep.
And it just snowballed into
Took
the
over my whole summer.
sports radio, 4-letter network, CBS News, NBC News. I mean, you have terrorists, you have politics, you have bad weather,
Yep.
and the 6:30 nightly news was leading with Deflategate.
We had 32 inches of snow, and
The winter, it was just,
Yeah.
it was snow, and air pressure.
Yep.
And it started innocently enough, the win after the Colts game, Brady went on DNC.
yep,
It had leaked overnight that there was a question about the air pressure of the footballs.
Yeah.
And they asked him about it on this morning show, and he laughed it off.
Yeah.
And it ends up going to court.
Yep.
And we mentioned about the victory in the Super Bowl feeling just that much sweeter. And I mean, we're now almost a year
Mm-hmm.
since then, and it's not over yet.
Nope.
Another appeal.
Yep.
I mean, Brady was just all right. So let's recap. I don't even want the details. Whatever. The pressure was low in footballs. It wasn't low in footballs. There were one gauge. There was two gauges. They didn't record the stats. They did record the stats. Who knows? What ended up happening was the Patriots get penalized as a team $1 million, a first-round draft pick
Correct.
in 2016 draft,
This year. Yep.
and then a fourth-round pick in the 2017
Yeah.
draft.
Yep. I think so. Yep.
Tom Brady gets suspended 4 games.
Correct.
So Bob Kraft pays the fine, doesn't fight the draft picks. Brady obviously was suspended 4 games. I'm having a hard time talking about
Yeah.
this now because it's just I don't want to waste time on it. But 4-game suspension, he appeals it. The appeal process gets dragged out. His emails get leaked. Roger Goodell, who's the commissioner of the league, who laid down the punishment, ended up being like the mediator.
Yep. He was the appeals here.
Yeah, which that doesn't make sense. It goes to Judge Berman, I feel like his name was. I don't know if that's right. He overturns it. Brady doesn't get suspended at all. He gets to play.
Yep.
Life is good. NFL comes back instead of dropping it and saying move on. They're appealing the appeal, which will be heard, I think, in March of 2016.
Correct.
Guys, I'm going to stick to my guns and say that this was a diversion. I think the NFL has a policy that all publicity is good publicity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they used this to distract us
From all the
fans,
negatives.
from all the domestic abuse, from all the guns, from the Aaron
Concussions.
Hernandez concussions.
Yep.
I think they use Brady, and I think they used the Pats and made them public enemy number one to get the focus away from, and not to mention the referees, the poor product on the field,
Yep.
from the 12 things that, they don't want us to really focus in on. And I don't know if you feel that way. I really haven't given it much thought until we decided to do this year in review thing.
Yeah.
And I
Then
wrote
you
it.
remember how much time of your life it
So
took
much
up.
time,
Yeah.
so much sports radio. You have the local guys, the ones jumping on the bandwagon, going, he did nothing wrong. This is
Yeah.
a waste of time. You have the local sports guys going, they did something wrong. They
Yeah.
always cheat. I don't know, man. What do you think?
So it's funny. The very first press conference after Belichick came out, and he basically said, "Hey, Longster, you got to talk to Tom. I don't touch the footballs, which he probably doesn't." And I remember sitting there saying, "I'm like, you know what? It's actually pretty good PR. Everyone loves Tom Brady. I mean, even if you don't like the Patriots, you probably don't like. He's not a hateable person.
I
know
know
what I'm saying?
you think everyone likes Tom Brady.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, well, you put it on Brady, he's like the golden child. Okay, because Tom's a pretty good talker, and you went through the whole process. They win, you feel great because it's us against the world. Then you kind of hear the rumors that come out that say, hey, the Patriots might be vindicated in this, and that it might be on the Colts. A little bit of a witch hunt, blah blah blah. Then it comes out that it made it sound like they did it. Then the suspension come out. My thing from the very beginning was, you can say he did it. You can say he didn't do it. You can say this. You can say that. The suspension was outrageous.
4 games.
4 games for some deflated footballs.
Yeah.
Same as Greg Hardy got for almost killing his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Two more than Ray Rice got for
And there was a
literally
video of
knocking out his girlfriend cold.
that. The thing that bothers me about the NFL is Ray Rice got suspended 2 games initially for the incident with his fiance.
Yep.
And then the video came out, and then the league
Yep.
suspended him indefinitely, right? Like, I just thought that was iffy. The thing that bothered me, and I don't know if this got as much play as I think it should have, when the NFL appealed the ruling by Judge Berman,
Yep.
they compared this whole incident to, like, the Black Sox scandal
Yes, I did see that.
of the
yeah.
early 1900s.
Yeah.
Where some Black Sox players purposely lost the World Series because they were paid off, or because how do you draw that?
How do they draw the comparison? When they asked them before, they said, why'd you pick 4 games? And they basically said we see it similar to steroid use. And Berman's like, what? How do you? I really think it stems from the suspension. So let me ask you, right? You're Tom Brady. You go through, whatever. You did it, you didn't do it, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All right. They come back and they say, hey, look, we're going to suspend you a game.
Yeah.
Because you really weren't cooperative.
Yeah.
What do you think he does?
Well, I don't know.
He probably more likely saying, all right, you know what, I'll appeal it, but if I lose it, I'll sit a game and I still have 15 left.
Okay.
It's like 4
So I think the thing was they offered him 1 game,
Yep.
but they wanted him to
Admit
admit that he did something.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Listen,
Do you blame him?
no, I
Yeah.
don't, because listen, I get on LeBron for having his image, his brand. Tom Brady has a brand.
Yep.
Listen, could he stop doing what he's doing tomorrow and be set for his life?
Absolutely.
And his kids' lives
Yeah.
and his grandkids' lives? Absolutely. But listen, when it comes down to it, the PSI can't go under 11.5.
I think it's 12.5.
12.5.
Whatever. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Let's pretend it's an even 12.
Yep.
Did he have the balls and the PSI set at 12.1? 12 even? Probably.
Yep.
A little under? Maybe.
Yep.
But I don't think there was this sting, or not sting, but this operation before the game. I think the referees got caught with their pants pulled down.
They didn't do an adequate
They
job.
didn't do their job.
Yep.
They didn't write down any statistics, any records.
Yep.
And who knows? Maybe the Pats knew that, and they did let little
Yeah.
air out. Or if they know they don't do that, why would you have to do it so close? Whatever. It's just a really, really bizarre. I'm hopeful that a year or two, maybe when the dust settles a little bit, we get to hear more of the NFL's thought process.
Yeah.
I honestly want someone to come out and say, listen, we wanted to divert people's attentions. Listen, we really thought he was guilty. Hey, or listen, we screwed up. We looked like idiots. And once we got in.
I could even live with say, hey, look, listen. Yeah, we wanted to get him back for Spygate. At least admit something.
Yeah.
You know, say, hey, looking back, we probably were a little light on him in Spygate, and we wanted to get him.
Yeah.
And we took it a little too far.
Yeah, just a wee tiny bit. But here's the thing: the Pats overcame the distractions.
Isn't that one of the most amazing parts? Because really, you remember,
so.
I think it was September 3rd, 1 week before the game, is when they officially knew Brady was going to play.
Yeah.
And chances were he was going to play, because even if they didn't overturn it, he was gonna appeal it, and they were going to have to let him play because you can't get games back. So if he'd appealed and they said, no, you still have to sit 4 games, he's going to be like, well, then what's the point of me appealing, Yeah. So he probably was going to play that first day.
Yeah.
But for them, I think there's a lot of talk about the FU tour, and they came out. I think it's more impressive that they were actually prepared to play as well as they were early, considering not necessarily the distractions, but the fact that your best player, the most important position maybe in all of sports,
Yeah.
you didn't know he was going to really be there until a week before.
Yeah.
So you really had to prepare. You did have to prepare Jimmy Garoppolo to play. That's just the reality. Whether it's 1, 2, 4 games, up until about that time, you had to in the back of your head say, "There's a decent chance we might have to go with this guy."
Yeah.
And I think
ended up working out.
and then working out, and they got to 10-0. They're 11-2 now. So
We'll see what happens the rest of the way.
We saw a weak team, the New England Patriots. Let's face it, they're not good anymore.
All right, so switching sports, going over to the NBA, the National Basketball Association. First full season under Adam Silver, new commissioner.
yes, because he came in right around the playoffs because his first big move was kicking out Sterling.
Donald Sterling, yeah. So I think 2015 was the start of something special in the NBA. We just saw witness to the Golden State Warriors coming into Boston, down 2 of their starters. Their head coach hasn't even coached a game this year.
Luke Walton has all the plays in his hand right there.
Yeah, he carries around the play sheet like it's stuck on Velcro.
Run, circle.
You guys know what to do out
Yeah.
there. All right, so they come in, we see it. We talked about the hype, how much excitement was with that game when they came to the Garden. So you've got a young, exciting team. They seem to play together. You've got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green.
Yep.
You got Andrew Bogut thrown into the mix. You got Harrison Barnes. You even got Sean Livingston. Andre Iguodala ends up being the Finals MVP. So the Golden State Warriors win the NBA Finals pretty handily over I don't know if that's a word, handily. Easy over the
Cavs.
Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, give LeBron credit where credit's due.
They were banged up.
They lost
Very banged
Love,
up.
they lost Kyrie Irving.
Yep.
And I feel like they lost somebody else. Can't think who it was. But really, two of the big three
Yep.
were down.
We're down,
But
yep.
you have LeBron's first year back in Cleveland, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was his first year back in Cleveland. Correct me if I'm okay. I'm getting my years mixed up. He takes them back to the finals. I think the Warriors 1-5, maybe 6.
6 because the Cavs were up 2-1.
Were they really?
They remember, so the Warriors won the first game really tight,
Okay.
and then the Cavs stole game 2 in overtime,
Okay.
and
I
then
don't
they
remember.
came to Cleveland, and Cleveland was going bonkers, and they won the first game, and then it almost felt like the Warriors were like, all right, let's start playing, and
Okay.
they just rolled from there.
See, I had good memory. I don't remember that.
I remember game 4. I remember game 4 watching it, and the Warriors in Cleveland, the Warriors won pretty handily. And I haven't seen an NBA Finals where they won game 4 to make it 2-2, and everyone's like, oh boy, this is over. Because they just look like they found another gear that the Cavaliers simply did not have.
So we were young. What was it? 96 when the Bulls won 72.
Yep.
You know, I remember the Dream Team and them rolling. I know it was 92.
Yeah.
But I remember the Dream Team just manhandling teams, winning
Yeah.
by 50 points. I'm not going to say the Warriors have that Dream Team, the same talent, because they don't.
Yep.
But they almost have that feel where I've never seen a team get hotter, faster.
Yep.
Steph Curry is the quickest and most accurate shooter
Sure. Yeah.
I've ever seen. It doesn't matter where. It literally doesn't matter where he is on the court. You got to guard him.
Yeah.
His ball handling skills
Yep.
is off the charts, man. I've seen him do things with that basketball that I've never seen before. And if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't picked up a basketball in a while, go try to dribble a basketball. Even try to dribble it through your legs.
Yeah.
It ain't that easy. And he looks like a magician with it. And I think the most exciting thing about the Warriors is they're young.
Yep.
Okay? They have a head coach, Steve Kerr, who's been on championship teams
Yep.
before.
Who's fairly
Bulls,
young for a
Spurs.
head coach, too.
Fairly young, seems like a positive guy, brings a lot of energy to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Players seem to respond well to him,
Yep.
obviously. You've got a fan base where Golden State, man, those fans, that place gets rocking.
I'd never been there, but it looks
It
like
gets
a pretty
loud.
small arena, meaning everyone's right there.
Everyone's on top of you.
It doesn't look like a fun place to play in,
They-
that's
they-
for sure.
They do that T-shirt thing where all the fans wear yellow, so
Yep.
everything looks yellow,
Yep.
which is cool, kind of. Unless the Celtics do it, then it's just kind of weird because you're used to seeing multicolored
Yeah.
shirts. But the Warriors just have a young, youthful team that plays together. Any night recently, Klay Thompson's been going off.
Yep.
He scored 27 in the third quarter earlier this end of
Yep.
this year, and Steph Curry can drop literally 30 points in a quarter on you, and they're just fun to watch. And I'm not saying the NBA is going to pass the NFL in popularity, but I will say that I think the Warriors can draw in fans.
Oh, absolutely.
They can draw in the average normal basketball guy or woman that don't usually watch TNT games. Maybe they start watching TNT games because they hear, hey, you got to check out this Curry kid. You got to watch him shoot.
Don't you feel like that they're going to allow you might stay up a little later on the East Coast? Yeah, I'm going to catch a little bit of the Warriors game.
Absolutely, man. The game starts at 10:30, and that's the only tough part, maybe a little bit about the Warriors is you see the highlights. They're a
Yeah.
great team to watch the next day in the 2-3 minute highlight
Oh,
reel
yeah. Yep.
because they're dribbling through their legs, they're catching alley oops. Curry's pulling up from half court to shoot a three.
Yep.
But they're on the West Coast, so us East Coast people.
We're not going to watch 41 games at 10:30 at night.
No, I mean you may watch the first quarter, make it till 11 o'clock, but then you're not going to stay up till 1 a.m. to watch the end of the game.
Yep.
Most people aren't, but I like what the Warriors did. The most impressive thing to me, and you talk about a little bit with the Patriots, the championship hangover.
Yep.
Patriots not only have to deal with Deflategate and the championship hangover, but they go out and win the first 10 games of the season.
Yep.
The Warriors come out and they win the first
24. I think they got to 24 now.
They win the first 24 games of the season. And granted, Steve Kerr, complications from back surgery, not coaching. We were laughing about Luke Walton earlier, filling in while he's gone, and Luke Walton winning the first 24 games. And we can talk about how much that matters or not. But I think it's just as impressive that they almost start the year strong and they finish strong with that 24 game win streak, and they're trying to defend their crown and they got the same core, and they could be good for the next. And in the NBA, you see this. It's not a new team every year that wins the championship.
Well, dynasties are more
common.
More common.
Spurs, Lakers, Bulls.
Yep.
Go date back to the Celtics, Pistons. Even the Rockets won 2 in a row.
Won 2 in a row.
You know, so.
Well, I think the most. Well, first of all, they proved that it was no joke last year. You know, it was not LeBron was hurt, and the Spurs got matched up with the Clippers early, so maybe they got knocked out a little earlier than they should have. I think it's impressive that we talk about this all the time. They seem to want it every night. They don't care if it's a Tuesday night in Charlotte or a TNT game.
Unless it's Saturday night in Milwaukee.
Yeah, unless it's Saturday night in Milwaukee. But you see their comments. Milwaukee's coming to Golden State, I think, tomorrow. And they basically said, yeah, we're out for blood. Yeah, we want to beat the crap out of them.
They'll probably win by 40.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Most teams be like, it's just another game. No, they want to win because they ended our streak, and I think that's impressive. I think they're young enough and talented enough where they can do it.
Yeah.
They're the favorites. It's bottom line. They're the favorites.
I'd like to keep your eye on, it's fun. I laugh because we were reviewing notes before we started this.
Yeah.
And I was like, we'll talk about the Spurs winning the title. And you're like, that wasn't this year. That the Warriors won. I was like, oh, crap. Forgot about the Warriors. But then you always got to keep your eye on the Spurs.
And they're 19-5, and they're no joke.
Yeah, you
the quietest 19-5 team in the history of sports.
Kawhi Leonard, man, what a good ball player.
Oh my goodness. And they love it that way. They could care a lot. They don't want to be it.
No.
They'll just continue to win.
The Marcus Aldridge, they have a really good team. NBA is going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch how this. I'm a big fan of the NBA. I think they have a bunch of superstars, and I think they're going in the right direction. I think the Warriors are only going to help. So we'll see where it goes. Sox go out in the offseason. They sign Pablo Sandoval, World Series champion, three-time World Series champion. They sign Hanley Ramirez and bring him back into the fold. Right off the bat, the Pablo Sandoval thing, because I remember watching him in the World Series.
Yeah.
The guy, he's got a big stick, let's say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
He shows up and he plays well when it matters the most. Yep. Can he be in better shape? Yes. But he's you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Hanley Ramirez was interesting because here you have a shortstop, came up as a shortstop.
Yep.
Went over to third base for a little bit when the Marlins got Jose Reyes.
Yep.
Went to the Dodgers. Believe he was playing third and then went to short, or was he always at short?
I think he was always at short. Yep.
Goes back to short.
Probably the worst shortstop defensively.
But nonetheless, he was a shortstop.
Yep.
The Sox go out, give him 4 years and $80 million, and say, you're going to play left field. And I don't know about you, but right off the bat, I was like, I don't know. Yeah, he can hit, but I don't know. I don't know about that. And it ended up to be disastrous, right?
Couldn't have gone worse. And
you're in a position now heading into 2016 where you're going to try and
put him at first.
Yep. And, it's all 2020, looking back, and, we can sound like, smart people now because we know what happened. It was a
disaster, yep.
But it was a disaster, and the Sox, finished in last place?
They did, yep.
Second year in a row?
Just 3 out of 4 years.
Mixing a World Series win, random as all hell. But a interesting year with the Red Sox where the playoffs, they got off to such a poor start, and they surprisingly finished the year.
They only finished like
bad.
5 or 6 games under 500.
Yeah, and it was just it was. And let me get your thoughts, but it just seemed like one of those years where there wasn't a runaway team.
Yep.
You didn't look at anyone in the American League and say, you know what, no one's going to beat them.
Yeah.
It just seemed like an open year, and the Sox had a chance to be in the mix.
Well, especially before the Blue Jays made those trades. Like, the Yankees were leading the division, and the Yankees never, they were good, but they never scared you.
No.
And you were just saying, God, you're one or two, You get off to an average start, you're still kind of in it, You're still kind of lurking there, and maybe you get hot at the end of the year, and there you go. the beginning of the year, Hanley came out on fire offensively.
He did, right?
And I think he had 2 home runs in the opening day, and he continued through about mid-April. And you're just saying, you know what? This guy's going to hit enough where it doesn't matter defensively.
That's what everyone was hoping, was his offense would make up for his defense.
And it just never. But his defense was that bad.
He was worse than Manny.
He was well worse than Manny.
Yeah.
Well worse than Manny.
And the thing that bothered me the most, all right, this might sound stupid, but you drop a fly ball, whatever. 2 steps in, but instead of taking 2 steps back, fine. The thing that drives me nuts, just looking at it from a pitcher's point of view, is that base hit down the third base line into the corner.
Yep.
And you're just trotting. I hate when outfielders play it into a double.
Yeah.
Because if you're fast and you're smart, you might be able to stretch it into a triple.
Yep.
Listen, man, I don't. If I'm a pitcher, I give up a hit down the line. Yeah, obviously, don't give up the hit, but you're gonna give up hits. Just show me a little hustle. Get the ball in quick. Throw the ball. I don't know. That's what bugs me the most.
What do they always teach you when you're in Little League? If you don't know where you're going to throw the ball, just get it in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Just throw it in.
Yeah, just throw it in, and we'll go from there. And I think the problem was he never showed that he wanted to work at it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I get it. I'm making a move here, and it's ugly right now, but I'm going to do my best. And it's not easy to deal with the Green Monster sometimes, but I'm at least going to work my ass off to make myself a better left fielder.
Yeah.
And it just never happened. Or I'm going to hit 45 home runs, and you won't care how bad I am out there.
Well, before we get to what I think was a bright spot on the team, the pitching.
Yep.
Farrell came into the season, said they had 5 number ones. I believe it was Lester's first year with Chicago. I know they had traded him the previous season. They tried to kind of bring him back.
Yep.
He decided to go with Chicago, and they went in with a rotation of Miley, Kelly, Porcello, Buchholz, and I can't even remember who the
Justin Masterson.
Justin Masterson. And it just from the get-go was
bad.
They may have had a couple stretches where it was like, oh, okay. But was it Joe Kelly? Did I say Joe Kelly too? Okay. But it just never clicked. It seemed like by the time they were out of it and nothing mattered,
that's when they started.
That's when they started to figure it out.
Yeah.
Clay Buchholz, again, can't make it through a season.
You remember the first couple starts, like the first time for the rotation, Buchholz, I think he almost threw a complete game on opening day.
Yeah.
But we've seen Clay Buchholz enough where we're like, okay, we can't judge it on one start. You got to see him, and I remember Miley came out. His first start was at Yankee Stadium. He was outstanding.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, all right. And everyone seemed to kind of, but it just wasn't good enough to sustain throughout the year. I mean, and that's what you get when you don't have that guy to kind of right the ship.
Yeah.
Over a 162 game, it just kept snowballing and snowballing.
So you look at the 5 starters. Masterson got designated for assignment. They put him on the DL, sent him down to the minors.
I think they tried him in the bullpen a little bit.
Tried to bring back the bullpen. They end up just releasing him.
Yeah.
They end up, Buchholz gets hurt. They end up trading Wade Miley this offseason, probably because he was the best out of the bunch.
The only one anyone wanted.
Porcello, which was great, right before opening day, they signed him to a 4-year, $80 million contract. And everyone's like, what are you doing? What?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to the positives. So they bring up Henry Owens.
Yep.
They bring up Eddie Rodriguez.
Yep.
Right? They both throw the baseball pretty decently. Show maybe a little bit more of a future in Rodriguez.
Yep.
Right? Which is amazing because they got him in the Andrew Miller trade.
Yeah.
Why would Baltimore give up? But anyways,
for a rental.
For a rental, yeah. Eddie. So that always in the back of my head. I know Rodriguez. They hype him up, and he has good stuff.
Yep.
When he's not tipping his pitches, and the hitters know what's coming. But I'm always in the back of my head going, if he's so good, why did Baltimore give him up for a lefty reliever out of the pen? But anyways, you fast forward to now, heading into 2016, the Sox have to make up for, losing Lester. They give David Price a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
You slide Rodriguez in there. Porcello's still there.
Yep.
Buchholz, hopefully he comes back healthy, gives you something. And then Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly came back. I think he went 6-0 in August.
Yep.
Maybe won
He
8
finished the
starts in
year
a row.
like 8-0. Yeah.
Yeah, he came back and he threw the ball really well. So you're hoping that's the Joe Kelly you're going to get going into next season. Who the hell knows? The other positives I'll look at in 2015 for the Sox, Mookie Betts, Jackie Bradley played pretty well, and even Castillo showed you something at the end.
The two best things I saw were Mookie and Xander Bogaerts. I think with Xander, you just kind of allowed him, and you did the same with Mookie. You kind of said, hey, you're our guy, thick and thin, and we're going to let you play short. Because remember the year before, they kind of moved him around. He was struggling at short. Then they signed Steven Drew, put him at third, and it was just they were just playing around with him. They let him. They said, look, you're our guy, and he was really good, really, really good. Only had like 6 home runs, which was weird, but still drove in like 90 runs. And I think they allowed Betts to settle in because, out of spring training, this is the next Andrew McCutchen, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't come that easily. You've got to let him play. And I think they did a good job with that.
Prediction with Mookie Betts, he seems calm.
Yep.
He seems collected. He doesn't seem to be bothered by Boston.
Yep.
Sox will probably trade him. Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't it seem that way?
Yeah.
You bring in Victor Martinez. You bring in Adrian Beltre.
Yeah.
You bring in these guys who look comfortable in Boston.
Then they let go of him.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
Johnny Lester proves he can pitch in the big game, likes Boston.
Wins 2 World Series.
Wins 2 World Series. You know what, John? We're going to move on.
We're
going to move on.
The Lester, the thing that – so when they were all in on Lester to get him again, they should have never let him go.
Yeah.
But when they didn't get him, they had a backup plan, and it was a disaster. Because if you remember, they got Miley, Porcello pretty quick. They basically said, all right, and Masterson. They basically said, all right, plan A didn't work. We're on plan B. Boom, boom, boom. They said, all right, we don't have an ace. We're going to go with 5 guys that are just all there. And it was ugly.
The thing that threw me for a loop was the Sox with Martinez, the short money.
Yep.
Beltre 1 year.
Yep.
Steven Drew, I feel like they signed him to like a 1-year deal.
Yep.
That you had a left fielder. You had Cespedes on your team.
Yeah.
Who you traded for your ace.
Yep.
And then you trade him for Porcello. And then to fill Cespedes' spot, you trade for a third baseman and make him play left field. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. Signing Pablo, keeping Cespedes.
Yeah.
Why not do that? I just, the whole thought process, and I understand they wanted Cespedes to go to right, which I don't understand why. When you have Bradley and Betts and Castillo, stick one of those guys in right. It just seemed like the plan was.
And you remember they signed Ramirez and Sandoval within like hours of each other.
Yeah.
It was like, you're getting both of them?
Like, okay, one or the other. I get it.
Yep.
And then it's like, no, but they got to bring them both. You're like, well, who's Pablo plays third? Where's Hanley
someone's hurt that we don't know about.
Yeah. Where's Hanley's going to go to short? Oh, Bogarts is going to get traded.
Yeah.
Nope. It was just, yeah. So, anyways, 2016 looking a little bit more positive. The other thing that was, blindsided, Farrell diagnosed with cancer.
Yep.
Sounds like he's in remission.
I saw, yes, he is, and I saw an interview of him, and he looked pretty good actually.
He's a big guy.
Yeah, big guy, lost some weight, hair is gone, but he looked pretty good. I think it was a tough situation because if you remember, that was about the time when they hired Dombrowski, and of course the reporters were all asking about, are you going to keep Farrell? Are you going to keep Farrell? And I thought Dombrowski did a really good job because he didn't want to step around it, because you don't want to fire a guy that has cancer. No one wants to do that. But at the same time, I think Farrell knows that's part of the deal. He's got a job. And it ended up being that as of now, Farrell's Dombrowski's guy. And
You think if the cancer thing didn't happen, do you think Farrell would still be the manager of the Red Sox?
No. Yes, but I think he's I think he's on a little bit of a short leash. If they come out slow next year, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Because you really think about it, they signed Lovello 2 years, so they kind of have the replacement if necessary, And they kind of signed him before he was able to go out and, interview for some jobs. Now, I don't know if he would have gotten it. It seems like, a lot of the teams that had openings went with, retreads and big-name guys. But, they kind of locked it up.
Dusty Baker, for Christ's sake. Oh, God.
And it makes you wonder, did they kind of say, hey, hang tight and,
Yeah. Well, plus, cancer's a scary thing. And you
and
may
at the
think
same
it's gone.
Yeah, and that's the thing is at
How's
the
he
same
gonna
time
recover?
you have to protect yourself. God forbid if Farrell can't manage next year at the beginning of the year. God forbid something comes back. You hate it, but it you have to protect yourself. Or he might just not feel healthy enough. You don't know.
The other thing with the Sox and year in review, 2015, Ortiz comes out and says 2016 will be his last season. So a few podcasts ago, we spent a lot of time talking about David Ortiz and just memories and what he's done. I thought 2015 for him was a very productive season.
35 and 110, I think.
Yeah, so it does. He's getting up there in age. He's been doing this for a while. It wasn't one of those seasons where he was on the decline where he's like, I got to walk away.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens with this whole retirement thing. Maybe this season will be his last season, and that's that. But it's got to happen eventually, right?
Yep.
Like the Paul Pierces and the Kevin Garnetts and the Ray Allens, they go away.
Dare we say Tom Brady?
The Ortiz, champions Veritex, they go away.
Yep.
Francona goes away.
Yep.
Tom Brady's gonna go away.
Yeah. At some
I think him and Belichick will be the last of the group to head out. But I mean, since 2001, we're going into 2016.
Yep.
You're looking at 15 solid years of just
the same guys.
the same guys, and I'm looking at Tom Brady has 4 rings.
Yeah.
Larry Bird has 3 rings.
Yep.
Big Papi.
3 rings.
3 rings.
Yep.
So, he's right up there with the best of the best in Boston. And
Big Papi, and when he won the World Series, he's the first player since 1975 to win 3 rings, and one of them didn't come with the Yankees.
really,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Which is crazy when you think about it,
Yeah. So we'll see what 2016 has in store. All right, so let's get off the grid completely here.
Hockey.
No, heck no. Not wasting any time on hockey. Let's talk golf.
Okay.
Listen, I will say this: 2015, from a personal standpoint,
Yeah.
still haven't broken 100.
Yep.
Shot an even 100.
Yep.
This year.
Mm-hmm.
I should have broke 100 at Beaverbrook,
Yep.
at Kettlebrook with Mark.
Yeah.
Him and I were tied heading into the 17th hole.
Yep.
And he ended up beating me by 8 strokes. I just fell apart. Par 3, trying to go up this stupid hill. Toughest hole ever. Anyways, I've never played more golf in my life. I wasted so much money on golf, but it was a blast.
I played. It's funny. We played at Mike's wedding. We played before, at a simulated golf course, and it was great because it was 11 guys, and you had the group of guys that play consistent golf.
Yeah.
Then so you had 3 or 4, and then you had 3 or 4 guys that don't play golf like me, but athletic, and then you have guys that just aren't. They're not athletic, and it's fine. And it was a blast because you don't have to chase your balls around. I was I would have
find your ball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would have shot up over 100 because I never golfed. But it's funny. You sit there, and of course I think we were playing I don't know if it was Pebble Beach or whatever, and you hit a shot, and you're like, God, I could do this all the time. I could be really good at this.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Yeah.
But golf's a very frustrating. It's a very humbling game.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of concentration. But I will say this: I played a lot of golf this summer, more than ever. I also watched more golf than ever,
Okay.
and I watched more golf than ever because of Jordan Spieth.
Mm-hmm.
The kid is only 22 years old. He'll turn 23 in 2016. The guy, he carries himself with professionalism. He's mature beyond his age.
Yep.
And he's very good.
Yeah.
Won 2 majors in 2015, the Masters and the U.S. Open. Granted, the U.S. Open, Dustin Johnson kind of fell apart.
Yep.
He should have won that. That was a funky course, too. Ended up winning the FedEx Cup this year and just got voted Player of the Year in 2 or 3 different
As he
categories.
should.
And I look at it and listen, Tiger was always vocal and angry on the course, and with golf, sometimes that's from people. I've talked to people who are golfers.
Yep.
And they never liked Tiger from the start because he didn't fit that golfing
He's
mold.
animated, you know.
He's
and
animated,
The
and-
crowds get excited, and
And you can look at that as like a disrespect towards the game.
yeah,
Jordan Spieth, to me, and unless he's fooling us, he's doing a very good job. But he just seems like a legit nice dude.
yeah,
And he seems humble, and he seems like he appreciates everything that he's got.
yep,
And he's fun to watch. And he drew me in. And he was the reason why I would watch, the final round of whatever tournament on
Yep.
a Sunday.
yeah.
And I think it's good. I like seeing. I don't want football to dominate. I
Yep.
don't want basketball to dominate. I want football to be good. I want basketball to be good. I want baseball to be entertaining. And I like when golf's in the mix. I really do, because it is what it is. You might think it's boring, but I think guys like Jordan Spieth, even guys like Ricky Fowler,
Yep.
Jason Day.
Yep.
I mean, a year ago today, I couldn't name 5 golfers.
Yep.
Now I can.
Yeah.
And it's all it takes is that one good player to draw people in, especially where Tiger Woods is starting to just fall off.
Well,
the
I
place.
think one of the things too is a lot of the golf season kind of comes in a time where there's really no NFL, the NBA's over, baseball's going, but it's the dog days of summer. So
Yeah.
in 162 games, other than me, no one's watching every single game. But so it can be an enjoyable something different.
Yeah.
You're sick of hearing about mini camp talk.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Exactly.
So it's something different. New people. Tiger, no longer Tiger.
Phil's
the-
still hanging around.
Phil's hanging around, but he's, every time I feel like I watch a major, he's in between 60 and 80,
What's amazing is Tiger Woods shot like an 84 one round.
Yep.
And they're like, Tiger Woods 84, worst round of his life.
Yep.
In my mind, I'm like, I can't break 100.
To save my life.
Tiger
yeah.
Woods' worst day as a professional was
Yeah.
an 84.
Yep.
And that would be my best day. And it's
You'd frame that golf ball that
I
day.
I finally got my first birdie this summer. I think I had maybe 2 or 3 birdies all summer, and I freaking got that birdie, and I wrote on it and I save it. I still have it somewhere. So that's a big deal for
Yeah.
me. And to them, it's like I would love to play bogey golf.
Yeah.
I would kill to play bogey golf. And anyways, I don't think we've ever talked about golf before.
No, I don't think so. We talked a little bit off of the air about the Time article with Tiger Woods.
Yes.
A little bit about that.
Yeah, that was interesting. I thought.
And I ended up reading that after you mentioned it. And honestly, my takeaway from it was I just think Tiger might be done with golf.
Yeah.
Just like,
You got that sense that he just doesn't care
Yeah.
that much anymore.
and you really, you look back on it, I mean, he's been going at it since he was 6.
yes.
You see the video of his dad, but I mean, like, really focusing on it. So if he's 40,
I think he's turning 40.
40,
Yeah.
if he's like, hey, I'm a little tired of it, do you blame him?
I've been playing it for 34 years.
Yeah, like every day.
And golf is one of those sports where, you can get up early in the morning. Like, you can putt in your basement. You can chip outside in your backyard. You can go to the range.
Yep.
But you've got to put a lot of time
Yeah.
into it. And maybe he's just finally worn out and he's had more back. Well, the most interesting part about that Time article
Yeah.
was they asked him about his rehab with
Yep.
his back, and he said he walks for 10 minutes a day.
And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's his rehab. Was he's walking on the beach for like 10 minutes a day. Other than that,
He doesn't do anything.
He's icing his
Yeah.
back, which to me, and I feel like he had the surgery, like a month or
Did
two.
he play in Augusta at the Masters?
I don't remember.
I want to say he didn't. And he had the surgery right before that.
And so it wasn't like the surgery was a
Which
week
is by the
before the
which is middle April, beginning of April. So
Yeah.
it's been a while.
But I just to me I'm like, oh boy, he's got to overcome this. And I think they showed a stat on the Golf Channel about Tiger's a year.
Yep.
And I think like he had more surgeries than he had top 10 finishes or something.
Yeah, I believe it.
It was
yeah.
just something, and but on a positive note, the young guys are stepping up.
Yep.
Even Dustin Johnson fell apart. But Jordan Spieth, I think, out of the Jason Day too.
Yep.
And if you have a chance, go back, look into Jason Day's past and how
Yep.
he got to where he is. It's pretty interesting. He's Australian, I believe.
Yep.
So I'm a big Jason Day fan. But Ricky, Jordan Spieth, even Rory. Rory got hurt this year.
Yep.
Heck of a golfer, but again, he's Irish. Spieth, Fowler, Americans.
Yep.
And
you want to root for Americans.
yeah, you want to see Spieth go and win as much as possible, and he's a Texas guy, and yeah, it's I think they're gonna draw more fans in, and I'll say you might not like to hear this, but I bet you bold prediction, golf might creep up a little bit past the national pastime.
Don't you feel like maybe it's just because we're getting older, but more younger people are golfing?
Yeah. Kind of. I see. I don't know. Like, this is the first year I've actually gone to the golf course by myself.
Yep.
Or I've booked tee times and gone with people. So
Do you go just by yourself and like?
yeah, I go to Bedrock in Rutland.
Yep.
9-hole course. It's like $20 for
Yep.
with a cart, and I'll go by myself. But if I'm going to like an 18-hole course,
Yeah.
I'll go with Mark or
Yeah.
or Tenza or somebody, and you got to book a tee time.
Yep.
Bedrock, you don't have to book a tee time.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. But who knows? Maybe we can get out there, swing some clubs.
I got to work at it. I do.
It's frustrating. It can be
Yeah.
frustrating.
But you always have that one shot where you're like, God, I could be good at this.
Sticking on just random sports topics we
Yep.
haven't talked about. 2 duds. Well, one big dud.
Yep.
Boxing.
Okay.
Okay. Pacquiao, Mayweather.
Yep.
Finally decided to get it on.
Mm-hmm.
About 5 years too late.
Yep.
Did you watch the fight?
Nope.
Okay, so we went over to
And I'm very glad I did. Didn't.
went over to Kerwin's uncle's house.
Yep.
He had a party and rented the fight, and what a snooze fest.
Yeah.
It
It hurt boxing. It hurt it.
it hurt a lot, and they needed Pacquiao to win, and he didn't. But it was like Mayweather didn't do anything. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like he beat him up so bad the judges had to go with him.
Call it, yeah.
It was just both the guys throwing a couple jabs here, a couple jabs there, dancing around, and I think it went the distance, and a huge disappointment.
Yeah.
It just, again, I'm not a huge boxing fan, and I couldn't even name 2 other boxers besides Pacquiao and Mayweather. But the other thing too is maybe what replaced boxing, the UFC,
Yep.
right? So Ronda Rousey
Yeah.
dominating,
Yep.
this year and last year, and making a name for herself and putting women in mixed martial arts on the board. Up until recently, where she actually fought Holly Holm,
Yep.
who has a boxing background.
Yep.
And Ronda Rousey got beat up bad. First loss in the UFC.
Well, I'll be the first to admit I've never seen a UFC fight. I just nothing against
It's
it.
on all the time
Yeah.
on Fox Sports 1. and
Yeah,
Fox
I may have
Sports 2.
flip through it or something, but I've
Yeah.
never. In regards to the Mayweather Pacquiao stuff, the only thing that excited me was like how much pub it was getting, the celebrity stuff like that. I remember I went out that night. I went somewhere, but was like home in time for the fight, and I just decided not to watch
It's like
it.
$100.
Yeah, and I just decided to go to bed, and I woke up the next morning wanting to see who won, and I go through my Twitter timeline, and everyone is just trashing the fight, just how bad it is, how bad it was. I can't believe I spent $100 to watch that. And Mayweather won, correct?
Yeah. And Mayweather's not a good dude either.
Yeah, bad
He's like
human,
a bad
person. And then you remember, then it comes out that Pacquiao was hurt.
Yeah.
And then the issue became gambling. The gambling. Did Pacquiao not? So he didn't want to back out of the fight because he didn't want to be called a wuss, and he's bailing on Mayweather.
Yeah.
But did it hurt his chances of winning? Then so people that had money on Mayweather then was able to have an advantage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I remember that coming out at the end or afterwards, and nothing ended up happening. There was some rumors that they were going to look into it, but
They probably shoveled it,
Yeah.
swept the dirt under the rug.
well, and the other thing they said is, quite frankly, even though he lost, he still took home what, 20, 25 million, something like that, if not more. So I mean,
Oh, yeah.
just by going in there, he made himself 25 million.
Yeah.
In regards to the Rousey thing, I never first to admit, never watched her fight. Only see her on SportsCenter, ESPN the magazine, Sports Illustrated. Knew that she was undefeated, probably the toughest woman in the world. I think she lost who she was.
Yeah.
Probably spent a little too much time on television, little too much time in the magazine, and someone stuck it to her.
Yeah.
Me personally, I think hey, that happens. She'll be fine. She'll figure out a way.
You can't
She'll
win
be fine.
all. Like
you
you're
can't win
gonna
all of
lose.
them. And I was following it a little bit afterwards, and she came out on Instagram and said, I'm going to be fine, blah, blah, blah. And someone was saying that she was legitimately she kind of hit herself for weeks.
Yeah, the rumors that she had some plastic surgery done on
Yeah.
her face.
It's okay. There's
Yeah.
no need to do that. You lost. You're now, 23-1 or whatever. You're still one of the best in the world. You're going to lose. I just thought that was a little surprising to me that, even you look at all the boxers, Tyson lost. Those guys lost at some point in their lives.
I will say this, for the UFC, it was the best thing that could have happened because you're guaranteed now a rematch.
Yep,
right.
absolutely.
So I'm going to watch that fight.
Yep.
And then what? If you're the UFC, you want Ronda Rousey to win that because then you have a third and the rubber match.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Holly Holm has the boxing background. Who knows? She's a lot bigger. Lee likes to point out Holly Holm was just bigger than Ronda Rousey. But
I just think it's, I don't want to say that it went to her. And you know what? You can't really blame her if you're Rousey because you have an opportunity to really put the sport on the map as a woman.
Yeah.
So I think as for her personally and the sport as well, you have to take those opportunities.
Absolutely.
It just so happened that it hurt her in the ring that one day.
Yeah.
I think, and that's maybe sometimes everyone needs a little kick in the butt every once in a while. She'll be fine.
Yeah, she'll bounce back.
And she still made a ton of money for getting her butt kicked.
That's the thing is about all the at the end of the day, all these people are so rich.
You know what
that
I
it's
like?
just
Everyone
get over
talks about after a football game, everyone goes in there and shakes hands, hugs, high fives. You know what? Even though you lost, it's not like your check bounces.
Yeah.
You're still getting paid. So
it. You still have plenty of money. To burn.
Yeah.
It's an incredible year, and I'm very, very much honored by my peers and that they recognize the year we had. Also, it is tough for somebody to have 5 wins in a major championship and not win Player of the Year. So hats off to Jason too, as well as Rory, Ricky, and the bunch. We all pushed each other this year, and we made each other better.
Kansas City Royals make the World Series in 2014, lose in 7 games to the San Francisco Giants. I thought they had a chance to win. They surprised a lot of people in 2014. Had a really strong bullpen.
Yep.
Okay, so going to 2015, baseball more than any other sport, I feel like, the postseason. The deeper you go into the postseason, especially if you win the World Series, your off season becomes that much shorter.
Yeah.
And your off season's already short enough.
Yep.
So I didn't expect the Giants to make much noise, and I thought where the Royals relied so heavily on their bullpen,
Yep.
I thought their arms would be a little tired heading into this 2015 season. They proved us wrong. They proved me wrong.
Yep.
And they essentially ran away with the Central Division.
Yep.
And they end up beating the New York Mets of all teams, which was another surprise.
Yeah. Yep.
They end up beating the Mets in the World Series. What, they didn't sweep them, but what, in 5 games?
Yeah, the Mets won Game 3, and that was it. Yep.
So you've got the Kansas City Royals, similar to basketball, where you have a young team, young core, with the Warriors. The Royals, young core. I mean, you've got what? Alex Gordon. Let's talk about the guys that came up in the Royals system.
Yep.
Alex Gordon.
Yep.
Moustakis.
Yep.
Hosmer.
Yep.
Lorenzo Cain got traded, I believe, part of the Greinke deal.
Yes.
He's from Milwaukee.
Yep.
Salvador
came
Perez.
up. Yep. Perez.
Shortstop, Escobar.
Yep.
So they've got a young core, and 2014 they traded for James Shields. 2015 they brought in Cueto.
Yep.
So they fill in, Rios, Morales. They bring in those guys this year, and the defending, reigning 2015 baseball champions of the world, your Kansas City Royals, first time since the mid '80s.
How's that sound?
I'll tell you what. I like it.
Yep.
I think baseball is doing a great job. Is parody the right word?
Yeah.
Where it could be. I mean, the Astros.
Well, I think, for a while there, it was okay, who could spend the most money, and you were kind of in a race with the big markets. And
Yes.
now that it's, well, first of all, I think we're seeing a little bit of the smaller markets being able to spend more money, TV deals, all that kind of stuff. But building within your system has become more and more important.
So the Royals had to, so it's like a two-part monster.
Yeah.
The Royals had to be very bad
Yep.
for a good stretch.
Yep.
But they also had to have the good management in place
Yep.
to make the right draft picks, to bring the right guys on board so that they could build the championship team.
Yeah.
And it seems like they clicked on everything that they needed to click on. And that team just came together. It just seems like the right group of guys that get along, young enough to be hungry enough, and they got a little taste in 14.
Yeah.
And I thought they were going to disappear and it was a fluke, and they just said, nope, we got a taste and we want the whole thing now.
I think for me, looking back, it was one of those years where I think neither of us really thought that they were going to win the World Series. But then you look back and you're like, how did we not see this? Because they just fit together so well, even throughout the year. And it almost got to a point throughout the year, the length of the year, how hot they got early, that it was just kind of, all right, we're just going to, I don't want to say tread water. That's not the word I'm looking for. But we've got a big lead. We added Cueto. They were never really challenged in the Central, and everything was just so easy for them. You kind of forgot about them.
Yeah.
And then the Blue Jays went out and got really hot.
Yeah.
But you just kind of forgot about them. And then the Astros were the big talk, and then the Rangers were a surprise too. And you forgot about the old Royals who had been there from day one.
Yeah.
Defending AL champs. I think it's just a team that fits well.
Yeah.
They don't make mistakes. They don't strike out. They don't make mistakes.
The best example when I think of this Royals championship team, I think about the game in Houston, and if Houston won, it was late in the game, and they were up by 4 or 5 runs.
Yep.
Maybe 6, and if Houston wins that game, they're moving on.
Yep, absolutely, and they have it at home
to
in
the
Houston.
ALCS, and I remember the Royals loading the bases, whether it was a couple walks sprinkled in, but they were just peppering singles.
I don't think they got a ball over the outfielder's head and
But
they
it was-
score 4 runs.
It was literally bases loaded, single,
Yep,
run scored. Bases loaded, single, run scored.
yep,
And that happened like a solid 3 or 4 times in a row.
yep.
Nobody got the bat, squared it up and knocked it out of the ballpark. It was just, next man up, next man up.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that. And the other impressive thing is, we've talked about this many times before, James Shields, fill-in ace year in 2014. Johnny Cueto, and I'm doing quotation marks, fingers, whatever.
Yep.
Fill-in ace 2015. So they don't have that. They didn't have that stopper. They went out and got a good pitcher. Also this year, as strong as their bullpen was, Timmy Collins, local Worcester kid, Tommy John, didn't pitch.
Yep.
They traded away Brandon Finnegan, who was another reliable lefty
They
out of the
traded him
pen
in the Cueto deal.
in the Cueto deal. And then you lose your closer, Holland.
Yep.
So you have to move everybody up, put Wade Davis, who was lights out as a closer, was not Ventura, is it Herrera? Kelvin?
Yep.
It just seemed like the next man up, and they weren't phased.
Nope.
And it was interesting to watch. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed the postseason. I thought it was nice that the Mets made a little run.
Well, I think I think we got to a point where the Dodgers and Mets were in the Game 5. The Royals had won. The Blue Jays had won. and who did? Oh, the Cubs.
It was all blue.
So you had 5 teams. Ended up being the Mets. 14. None of them had won recently.
Yeah.
So you had teams that were like, obviously the Cubs hadn't won 100 years, but like you had teams that wanted it bad
Wasn't
because
the Cardinals?
yeah, or the
and
Red
the
Sox who have won
Yankees,
3
the
out of the
Red
last
Sox.
10, or the Yankees who have 20. You
Or
had
the
teams.
Angels who always just dump the bed.
Yeah, and it's even though the Dodgers are a big name, they really haven't won a World Series since the mid '80s. So it's there were teams and fan bases that wanted to win so bad, and I think that just added to it. Citi Field was on fire in Kauffman Stadium.
What a great young batch of pitchers, and I know where we're doing this podcast now, the end of December, and I'm surprised the Mets haven't traded any of their young arms. It looks like they're going to hold on to them.
I would too.
So you've got Harvey,
Yep.
Syndergaard,
And they just signed Cologne.
Cologne, bring him back.
Well, I think what they're thinking with Cologne, they're saying, all right, we're probably going to have some guys
DeGrom.
shorten up early in the year where you can have Cologne eat some innings.
So you have Harvey, DeGrom, Syndergaard.
Yep.
Who's the lefty? Matz? Is it
Yep.
Steven Matz?
And you have Wheeler, who had Tommy
Wheeler.
John. Yeah.
That is top. If they do it right, and none of those guys, even if one of those guys goes down hurt, that is a good.
Big time rotation.
If you're the Mets though, why not go get some bats?
Yeah.
Like go sign Justin Upton. Go sign, bring Cespedes back. Like you need to put an offense on that team.
Because David Wright can't play every day.
Oh man, they have an opportunity. They have a young catcher too, don't they?
Yep. And they've got Familia as their closer, who is lights out.
They have an opportunity where they may have peaked a little too early last year.
Yep.
But
Well, they were definitely a year or two ahead of their progression.
here's my thought with the Mets is we're going to look back in 5 years,
Yep.
10 years, and go, because each one of these guys will be an ace in 5 years
somewhere else.
else. And they're going to be pitching against each other, and you're almost like the Zito, Mulder, Hudson thing, kind of.
Remember when they were all together?
Yeah, like remember the Mets had all those guys at once. Holy crap!
Yep.
It's gonna be one of those things, Lackey against Lester. Like,
Yeah.
oh, why can't the Sox get guys like that? But the Mets, they're oozing pitching, and I thought it was a good year in baseball. Always funky when the Sox aren't competitive because you do get used to coming home, turning on the Sox, falling asleep to the Sox. They're on every day.
Yep.
They become a part of your routine.
Absolutely.
And you're just naturally in a better mood when the Sox win, when they're doing good.
Yeah.
And it's tough to see your local team, especially when the Yankees are kind of in the mix.
Well, I think
I'm
one
over
of the tough things about this year was, and it was the same thing in 2012, but not in 2011, was they were not. The reality is after mid-June they weren't in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was really. Remember in 2012 where they were never terrible, but they were always at 500, couple below, and the ownership sold you on, hey, we're only 6 out in the wild card, but 6 might have been 16. Like they weren't gonna, they
6
weren't
games
in.
out with like 7 teams ahead of you.
Yeah, and it's like, you're that, but you're not in it. You really aren't, and it's tough. And they got hot, and it's not as fun. And you got to watch some of the young guys, but they say they want to play spoiler. It's not as fun when you're playing spoiler.
Another thing, just while we're talking about baseball, and we did talk about the Red Sox, but also 2015, the last season of Don Orsillo.
I was just going to say we need to bring something up about
Yeah,
that.
we didn't talk about Don Orsillo. Let's talk about him a little bit now. He's moving on to the Padres.
Yep.
He's going to do a little radio and some TV before moving into full-time TV for the Padres. Good for him. Glad he got another job. That was a really weird... that like out of all the things to change with Nesson and the Red Sox, like Orsillo would have been the last thing.
It would have been like the Celtics saying, well, we're in a slump and we got to get rid of Gorman. It's like we haven't won.
We need more people to watch Nesson. Orsillo, you're gone. Bringing in Dave O'Brien, who's decent, but I'm not going to tune into the game because Dave O'Brien's doing it. But I just fix the product on the field, and you and I could be calling the game.
By this time, you would have thought something else would have come out.
Yeah.
Like, maybe who knows? Maybe Don Arcillo asked for 2 because his contract was up. They didn't fire him. He was just
Right.
So maybe you thought maybe by this time something would come out that he just asked for an outrageous amount of money and they weren't willing to pay it. Now I'm sitting here saying I don't know what a play-by-play guy for the Red Sox should make. So
I could even guess.
I bet you it's approaching him. I don't think it's $1 million, but like
Really?
$750.
No.
Yeah.
No way.
Think how much you're working from February Valentine's Day till October 1st.
No way. You really think it's that high? Like Dave O'Brien.
Dude, John Gruden gets $6.5 million.
But that's once. No, I don't. We got to do some research because
Yeah.
I was thinking 100 to 150 a year.
Still, if that's great. That's great money for that job.
Up $1 million, I'd be very surprised. Maybe guys with the mainstream national gigs make
The
that
point
much
being
money.
is you would have thought that something would have come out about maybe it wasn't all about Nessa. Maybe Don Arcillo had some things that he wanted done that they weren't willing to do, and it just simply hasn't. And it makes you wonder, like, what did he do wrong? He seems like such a good guy, does such a great job. Seems like all of his coworkers loved him.
Yeah.
Him and Remy seem to have a really good relationship, although there was rumors that off the air it wasn't great, but when they were on air, they were great together. He did, and I think this can't be, he did a fantastic job when Remy was going through his,
Depression and his
depression
son thing
and his son and cancer. He never, and the one thing he always did, and I think Mike Gorman does a really good job of this, is he always let Remy be the show because Remy's before, was the big name. He never made the show about him. He knew that Remy was kind of the guy, the local hero, and he let it be. And the same thing with Gorman. Everyone loves Heinsohn.
Arcillo's very good at his job.
Yeah, very, very good.
And I think he'll be very good with the Padres. And unfortunately, I think if the Sox get off to a hot start, and they're good the first 2 months of the season, nobody's even going to talk about Arcillo.
No.
It's a big uproar when they find out he's leaving.
Yeah.
But if the Sox play good baseball and they're fun to watch and they're in contention for playoffs,
And
it's going to be the
last. He knows that.
It's just part of the gig. So.
Well, it's just you see a lot of the broadcasters stay around forever, and it's usually the players move around, not the broadcasters. But, I thought it was pretty cool last game of the year when the Red Sox saluted him, his last game.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool because I think they understand how much he meant to the franchise. 'Cause a lot of those players at that time were new guys. They weren't around for so I think that at least made them appreciate what he did because that's how we see the games through Don Arcillo.
Yeah.
That's how any fan, most of the games you're watching on TV. You're not going to every game.
Yeah.
So but we'll miss him. There'll be something that happens and you'll be like, "Ooh, that's not Don Arcillo,"
Yeah. So looking back, 2015 was a pretty it was an eventful year on and off the court, and we got a local sports team bring home another championship. You got the Warriors stepping up, winning a title, bringing some fresh blood into the NBA, into the basketball world. You have the Royals bringing some new blood into baseball. Hockey, I couldn't even tell you.
Blackhawks.
Blackhawks won.
Yeah.
Okay, same old team.
Same
blah,
old
blah,
team
blah.
wins it every year.
Jordan Spieth, golf, rejuvenating the sport, the game of golf.
Pacquiao Mayweather laid a dud. Yeah.
Rousey finally lost. Looking forward to 2016. I think you and I are both past 30. So it's like, all right, we both have kids.
Yep.
So, like I said a million times, our priorities have changed.
Absolutely.
We're adults. We still find great pleasure and joy watching sports. It's a little escape.
Yep.
And, I'm looking forward to 2016. And, we probably missed a few things to talk about in 2015. But any last thoughts or comments on 2015? And
what are you going to think about when you think of 2015, looking back?
sports-wise,
Yeah.
it's got to be the Pats.
Yeah.
It's got to be the Pats. It's got to be Malcolm Butler. It's got to be the fourth Super Bowl championship, and unfortunately, I think you're gonna think a little bit of Deflategate.
Yep.
But that's what I think of. I think of being at Adam's parents' house.
Yep.
Watching the game with the guys.
Yep.
Who I watched the first Super Bowl win with.
Mm-hmm.
In the same house.
Yep.
And Adam and I in his kitchen watching the game on the small TV.
Yep.
And seeing the play 30 seconds before everyone in the living room saw it. So us jumping through the roof, the ceiling, running into the living room, almost pretty much spoiling it for them.
Everyone, yeah.
But just that feeling of, like I said, we're older, we're adults, we have priorities have
You're
changed,
still like
but
a kid.
it makes you love those moments that make you feel like a kid again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's for 2015. What I'm taking away. What do you think?
I think obviously that, and the negative with the Deflategate, but I feel like there's been a rejuvenation with some of the, with the MLB, NBA. We're getting to an age now, and I always start to notice this. We're getting to an age now where reality is we're seeing guys that are going to go in the Hall of Fame that we've seen their whole career.
Yeah.
And that's. When we were 17, 18, and guys were going to the Hall of Fame, and our dads would tell us how good he was, and maybe we saw him at the end of their career.
Sure.
We're going to see guys like Ken Griffey Jr. Going to the Hall of Fame. There's not a guy between the age of 29 and 33 that Ken Griffey Jr. wasn't their favorite player.
Didn't have a Ken Griffey poster.
Yeah,
Ken
poster
Griffey
or whatever it is. So I think it's all that's starting to sit with me. That you're starting to, and we're seeing another era of players that are taking over, and it's we're starting to see our favorite players retire. Not starting, but a lot of them are retiring. David Ortiz, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett's probably going to retire sometime soon. Tom Brady is at some point 15 years down the road is going to retire. But
we'll be having our 10-year anniversary of this podcast.
Yeah, and he'll still be getting after it. And I think it's cool because you can kind of tell your kids because I see it a lot with our guys that they see a certain player but they didn't really see that player.
Sure.
They remember Ken Griffey Jr. with the Reds. It's like no. Like
the White Sox.
He was back with the Mariners in 2010. Yeah, that wasn't the Ken.
that wasn't the kid.
Yeah, that's not the guy that you should remember. Pedro this year going to the Hall of Fame.
That was big for me. That was kind of a oh wow. Like I remember leaving high school and saying, "Hey, Greg, you watching the game? Yeah, you watching Pedro's pitch?
Yeah,
watching
of
the
course
game.
You got to watch. Yeah,
so that to me was like, oh man, I can't believe Pedro's going in. That was the realization of just like how fast time's moving. And I will say this too, hopping on the New England thing.
Yep.
We joke about Tom Brady. He may play for another 5 years.
Yep.
He may get another Super Bowl or two.
Absolutely.
We may be sitting here in 10 years. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
If he's still throwing 30 touchdowns a year. But Ortiz is gone or leaving, Pierce. These guys do eventually leave, and the fun stops, and this has to come to an end.
Yep.
15 years of just City of Champions.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been lucky enough, through our 20s.
Yeah.
College years.
Yep.
We were able to witness all of this greatness. And, it's going to come to an end, and you've got to appreciate it while it's here. You've just got to enjoy it. And the Boston sports media can get super negative sometimes, and it drives me nuts. But you just sit back and enjoy it.
And I couldn't have said it better. It's you've got so many guys that are doing so many things at such a high level.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as they make
Great
it look.
athletes.
Great athletes. Who lose 2 games in a row, and it's like the world's caving in.
And it's like it's really not.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's gonna be fine.
And I think looking back the last couple of weeks is just makes you realize how good they are.
Yeah.
Where they can lose a couple games and it's like, whoa.
Yep.
And then you got teams that roll off 5, 6, 7 losses in a row.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's the Cleveland Browns. That's what they do.
The best part maybe of the year is we picked this podcast back up.
We started at the beginning of September.
Yeah.
And we've continued. I think we missed 1 week.
I'm at 1 or 2 weeks, and I'm enjoying it. Let's keep it going. We'll try to innovate. Maybe eventually have some guests. Who knows? Maybe we can have some people call in.
Yeah.
Who knows where this is going to take us? Maybe nowhere.
Yeah. Maybe 10 years from now we might be in the same basement.
But I don't care. You get 5 views, 8 views. I do this because I enjoy doing this. I talking sports with you, and it's a blast. It's a release, and if people want to listen, I appreciate it. We thank them for listening. But
we wish you a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and happy, healthy, safe 2016.
Do you have any resolutions?
Yeah, I have to lose weight, or
Okay.
I'm gonna die. I have to lose weight. I have to lose 50 pounds. So
50 pounds?
yeah, I have to lose 50 pounds. I can. I know what to do. I just have to do it. And I have to. I portion control
Yep.
is real bad with me.
Yep.
But I used to exercise like 5 times a week. Now I'm lucky if I get 2 times.
Yeah.
So I'm still portion.
Life comes at you.
It does, and I'm super lazy. But I have to lose 50 pounds. How about you?
I haven't set one yet, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, you got a couple weeks.
Yeah, I got
Well,
a couple weeks.
Kind of, yeah.
Just, I'd like to, we've always set the being able to eliminate debt, but that seems,
Just when you pay one bill, another bill pops up.
something always happens.
We fix something else breaks.
Then your car, something comes up, and then, so.
Knock on wood, no snow yet this winter, which has been amazing. Hopefully, last year made up for this year, and we don't get hit too
Isn't
bad.
it a little weird, though? It's going to be like 60 on Christmas Eve.
I tell you what, I have Wednesday off.
Yep.
My goal is to golf on Wednesday. If it's not
Golf
raining.
courses are loving this.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to hook up with Mark and get out on the course. And
On December 23rd. Who would ever thought that?
I want to. I want to say I golfed on like Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Or December 23rd.
It's going to be warm enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If it doesn't rain,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to play. My clubs. I don't have any golf balls left.
Yep.
But just to say that you were in Worcester or New England golfing,
On December 23rd.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, who knows? All right. Well, thank you very much for listening. Krug's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Looking forward to 2016 and
2 weeks.
2 weeks away. Not sure when we're going to drop this podcast, but maybe I'll drop it. We'll release it soon. I think this is going to be a good one.
I think you should do like a special like Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Christmas Eve morning. So while everyone's getting ready for dinner, they can have us.
Oh man, yeah. Krugs, we'll catch you on the other side.
Sounds good.
What do you want, Barry? What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down. Hey, that's a pretty good idea. I'll give you the moon, Barry.
I'll take it. Then what?
Well, then you could swallow it. And it'd all dissolve, see? And the moonbeams would shoot out of your fingers and your toes and the ends of your hair. Am I talking too much? Yes!